open session.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions, discussion? All those in favour of going out of closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? No nays, motion carried. So we're now back in open session, so we're going to do some motions, I guess. So we have the first one is the Ralph Garman Park
Am I going to read it or just?
excavation. Need somebody to make this motion.
Whereas council has acquired the property of Ralph Gorman Park, and whereas during the surveying of the property it was determined that the property line is diagonal, and whereas the property owners behind the park, PID 752-01574, are willing to transfer a portion of the property, the subject land, to the Royal Community of Hanwell, and whereas the land, being approximately 625 square meters, is to be used for future recreational development, and whereas consideration of the transfer of the land in the Royal Community of Hanwell shall cover the costs associated with filling of the man-made pond, and any other costs such as permits, surveys, deposits, materials, such as granular fill, sand, landscape with 4 inches of topsoil and seeded. I move to accept the quote dated September 5, 2022 from Eugene Henry in the amount of $21,500 plus HSD for 75 loads of gravel, fill, and culvert for a parking lot, as well as topsoil and seeded plus any additional loads of gravel required above 75 loads at $150 per load.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Sorry, did it need to be done by, did we need to put that in there, that it had to be completed by September 26th, or it's enough that it's in the tender?
It's in the
tender. Okay, perfect.
And just for the minutes, this was opened up, this was a tender that was sent out.
Let's quote that.
Yeah, just for the record, that's all. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
It was sent for 3.
Right.
Okay, any other questions, discussion?
Do we have a second?
Yep.
Oh, yes, we did. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, so all those in favor of the Ralph Garman Park pond excavation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? No nays, motion carried. Thank you, council. Moving on to the cleaning contract.
Okay, whereas the municipal reform will become effective January 1st, 2023, and whereas Hanwell, Entity 62, will now include the LSD of Kingsclear, and whereas the province will be transferring the assets of 3 fire halls and a community center, I move that we authorize and direct the clerk to investigate cleaning services for all municipal owned facilities in Hanwell, Entity 62, to be effective January 1st, 2023, either as individual contracts or a group of contracts for all facilities.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on, we have the recycling contract. Can I get a motion, please?
What are we going to read?
We're doing recycling first?
Yeah.
One is to go to tender, one is to extend.
No,
No,
Oh,
recycling.
sorry, are you the vote?
no, one
Oh,
is
that's sorry,
recycling.
I'm wrong on here. Sorry. Getting ahead of myself.
Whereas the municipal reform will become effective January 1st, 2023, and whereas the province will continue to honor any current contracts until they expire, and whereas the contract for recycling collection does not expire for the LSD of Kingsclear until January 2024, and whereas the Rural Community of Hanwell currently has a contract for recycling collection with Barrow Waste and Recycling Incorporated for the period January 1st to December 31st, 2022, with an option to extend the term of the contract by up to 2 periods of 1 year under the same terms and conditions, except that an allowance may be negotiated for rising fuel prices and an increase in the number of households. I move that we authorize and direct the clerk to investigate the costs and to extend the recycling collection and disposal agreement renewal for the period January 1st to December 31st, 2023.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions, discussion?
And just for the record to be clear, so January 2024 is when the recycling contract ends for Kingsclear. Correct. Yep. Just for the record, I wanted to.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, any other questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the recycling contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? No nays, motion carried. All right, moving on to garbage contract, we have two motions to consider here. One is to extend and one is to go to tender. So, do we discuss the merits of both?
Yeah, can we,
And then
we should
decide to
suspend
make
the
one?
rules?
Pardon?
Suspend the rules? Is that the-
Your motion to suspend the rules.
Yeah, I move to suspend the rules.
Okay.
I'll
Seconder?
second.
Okay. So, all those in favor of, any questions, discussion? All those in favor of suspending the rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? Okay, great, motion carried. Let's carry on.
So, I'm looking here at the garbage contracts that we have the option to renew or extend until January 2024, when the King's Clear one has to be done, or to go to tender. I actually believe that we should be going to tender on this particular case. I've had a lot of constituents talk to me about the garbage picking up. I don't begrudge BMI what they've done, but people want to just be able to put their garbage in the recycle bins or in the bins that they have around the community. So I'm going to argue and want to go that way.
All right.
Any other discussion?
Just a comment from me, if I may. As much as I know there's lots of discussion that's been around the community, no one personally has asked. Actually, I had one person actually physically call me on the phone about this subject. Right after the initial year after we took BMI, and had a long conversation with them. Other than that, I've never heard from anybody other than jabbering online. And our social media policy says we don't rule by social media. So the thing that I have a concern about, we're extending it, which I normally would have chosen to do. In fact, I think it was my motion last year, or I seconded the motion to extend it this year. Is that if we extend it, we're extending it for 12 months.
No, we're not.
11.
It says 11 on it.
Yeah, but is the cost going to change? There's nowhere in the motion saying that the cost would change. So we're paying the cost of 12 months, but only for 11,
No, because I will investigate the cost,
right?
and they will have to figure out what it's going to be for the 11 months.
Mm.
Wouldn't that kind of be unfair then, though, to others, because they're getting an opportunity to potentially see a contract for 11 months, whereas somebody else might not have? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like it almost, if it was for the full year and it was everything just stayed even and the same, it would be different than, we're kind of changing the contract, you know what I mean? It's not for the full 12 months anymore, it's for 11.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of giving them an advantage to just stay with it at a lower, potentially lower price. And if we're extending the contract and they say, no, that's, the price is the price, tough luck.
I would think they'd have to charge us 11/12 of the contract, wouldn't
Well,
it?
there's nothing though in a motion, unless we just call
But-
it out.
Have you
I'm going
discussed-
to,
Have you discussed it with them, the possibility of that?
this is what this is, to investigate the cost.
To investigate.
Because there's number of houses, there's gas prices,
Mhm.
and all
Okay,
that, right? So the contract will change from what it was
Right.
previously anyway. So when they are figuring out the extra for fuel increases and number of houses, they will also be figuring out that it's only at 11 months and not a 12-month renewal.
But last year, when we agreed to extend it, didn't we agree basically that it was just going to be extended for that 1 year and then we would go to tender again?
As if I recall, but I wasn't prepared to raise it
I
while we're doing
I
tonight.
don't recall that.
I don't recall.
Oh, yeah, we just extended it for the 1 year.
We extended it
and
for 1
we
year,
don't
but I
know
don't
the
remember that there's any obligation for us to.
yeah, certainly not in writing. It might have
No.
been something that was implied or discussed in open discussion.
It was definitely implied.
And please also remember, when this contract went out the first time, and Faro actually stated to us that they have very limited vehicles that have the arms for those bins. There is no guarantee that we will have one in Hanwell. So it could be literally that they are picking up.
The only guarantee we could get is we'd stipulate that in the contract, that they have to use a.
Well,
Yeah.
then you may not.
But I'm sorry, but regardless of whether they have an arm or they don't have an arm, we've been told over and over and over again that they need to bag their garbage regardless.
Yeah.
So by doing this, all you're doing is implying to people that they can throw their shit in whatever bin they want. I'm sorry, this is really upsetting to me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I
Speak.
don't like the way this has gone on for years, and I'm tired of it. everybody's implying that just because we're gonna go in and put it out to tender, you're gonna give it to somebody with an arm, and then everybody's gonna be able to throw their crap in their bin loose as they want. Well, they're not supposed to.
Well, that's in question, because the
It's not.
landfill site doesn't require it to be
They
in
don't.
bags.
They recommend it.
They
They
don't.
recommend
I checked with them and
it.
they
Our
said-
bylaw requires it to be in bags.
In our bylaw. for
Fredericton is
bags.
not required.
Pardon?
The city of Fredericton is not
No,
required.
I said
to
our
do that.
bylaw, that's Hanwell, requires it to be in bags. The landfill site do
Does
not
not.
require it to be in bags. So we've had that again, thrown in our faces, but it goes back to, I think, what, 2014, our bylaw? So the bylaw says one thing, but it's not what the landfill says.
But our
Our
bylaw
bylaw
can
binding.
be,
Oh, yeah, our
Tighter.
bylaw says bags,
no, but our bylaw can be tighter than what
certainly.
Yeah,
they
certainly.
want,
No
right?
question,
I
yeah.
mean, that's definitely up to mayor and council.
Yeah, no doubt, but I'm just saying, what I'm saying is it was never a requirement from the
Yeah.
landfill to put in bags.
But we've posted, on the Hamel Herald, articles from the landfill saying they want it in bags.
But that's wrong.
But the two gentlemen that
That
came
is
here
wrong.
from the solid waste
It's
commission.
recommended.
It's
It's
recommended.
recommended, but not dictated to, or not a rule.
But the two gentlemen that came and did a presentation that were from the Solid Waste Commission said that they definitely preferred that it was all bagged to protect their employees as well as to stop littering.
But it's preferred,
And that's
not
why I
mandated.
think, no, I know,
Yeah.
but I
But
think that's why
why
we
would we
put
go
it.
against what is preferred? I mean,
That's
why
why
would
we
you
did
go
it.
against the better way of doing it?
Well, I'm just saying, we've been pushing it off to the landfill people, saying that
Right,
they
well,
demand
it's not
it, but
pushing it off to
but
them.
they don't. It's us that demand it. Just, that has to be clear, because you go on the website, they don't demand it.
No, but
That's
they,
not part of the rule.
they don't demand it, but they recommend it. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
enforcing what they
Their
want us to
recommendations.
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
But
they're not
we've been-
demanding that we do it, but we're enforcing what they have asked us to
You're
do.
enforcing a recommendation.
Yes, that's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
I mean,
We've been
their best practice is to put it in bags.
Yeah. But we've been passing it off as their
All right,
requirement,
we
and
can
it's
stop
not,
doing that.
it's, we're misinforming the public, but it's
Right.
not their requirement, it's our requirement.
Then
That's all I'm
we gotta
saying,
do-
just clear that little point up.
But, and like, all right, no, I see your point, and I mean, all we gotta do is put out a notification saying, you know, this is what they consider their best practice, Hamel has decided to follow the best practices of regional
Because it's
subdivision.
been brought to our attention recently,
Hmm.
that they don't require bags.
But-
And the environmentalists, if this person calls himself one,
Yeah.
says, why are we putting more bags on the landfill, yada, 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 yada. But you know, I couldn't disagree with him, because he was right when he put it up on the website, so.
Well, I have talked to an environmentalist, an engineer who actually dealt with the stuff there, and he says that they don't want the bags, they don't want the extra garbage environmentally. So there's a contradiction, you folks are speaking safety, that's a very valid point. Nothing wrong with safety and putting stuff in a bag, I can accept that. But the landfill may have a different point of view as well.
But it was the landfill people that told us they wanted it back.
Right.
Physically,
Yeah.
in this office, in a presentation, said that they wanted it back.
Well,
I
the-
have met garbage trucks before, going to the dump from various different places, that have had, not had stuff in bags, and all you see is plastic flying out of these trucks all the way down the road.
That is,
But that's usually the open trucks.
No.
And for the record, that
No.
5-ton press is breaking the bags.
Of course it is.
It doesn't keep it marshmallows as it empties it.
Yeah, and if that's not breaking it, the big machine they have.
Right,
with all the
that's
garbage
running
down
over
there,
is
people
breaking.
ever
Well,
seen
yes,
that?
well, then you're gonna.
It breaks all the bags up.
and to be frank, and though this is anecdotal, I see a lot less garbage on our streets that would have come off the trucks from Faro, from the loading, from people just dumping them in bins, than we do with it all being back.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I see garbage bags, literally, I have photos, 2 times where garbage bags came off the truck on my lawn. The worst place for them possibly. I didn't complain, but I took the photos for record.
But thankfully it was a full bag, and in the past, it would have been just garbage.
Mine broke
chute.
up, I had to pick them up,
Okay.
and they weren't even mine.
But
So I
anyway,
asked the clerk,
getting back to the topic, what do we wanna do, extend or,
So somebody will have to make a motion.
but on the other part, I've been telling people, and I know Darren, you said you haven't gotten complaints, but I've got quite a few.
I don't get.
And
I've
one
had
thing
them
I
for
assure
years.
people of is it's going out to tender January 2023.
I couldn't agree more.
I could blame it on municipal reform, but
I've had a few complaints, I have to admit,
Yeah.
they're not happy.
I haven't had any.
Make no mistake, I tend to be a lightning rod for this because I was sued by this council for my comments on garbage last time. Not this council, last council. So people know to come to me when we're talking about it.
Basically, I think everyone has their opinion on it, you might as well just make a motion, one or the other, either vote for it or
Up or
vote
down.
against it,
I hear
up or
you.
down. But you're not gonna convince
Well,
anybody.
we gotta make one motion, I guess, and defeat it, and the other motion to approve it, so
That's right.
approve one, I'm not sure how this is gonna go.
Well, we're gonna approve to extend, but if I'm gonna read it, it's gonna be the extending one.
Yeah, but that's the one that might be defeated, right?
Right, well, they both may be
Then it's
defeated.
up to council.
Yeah.
It's up to
So
council.
we're
They
gonna
both may
read,
be defeated.
yeah, we're gonna read both motions then, just so that we're clear on that.
What?
Unless the other one is, unless the first one is
Whoever
approved.
wants to make a motion.
Whoever wants to make a
First
motion
person.
makes a motion, either you win or you lose,
Yeah,
simple as that.
but if that one's defeated, then obviously we go to the next one.
Yes.
If there's no argument, I'll make a motion, and then if it wins, it wins. If it doesn't, it don't.
Fair enough.
Go for it.
Is that, no objections?
Tell your vote.
Good.
Gotta make sure I start with the right one. Whereas the municipal reform, so I can make the motion now?
Yep.
You don't have to
Yep,
come out of
you're
first,
on.
No, it's okay. Whereas the municipal reform will be effective January 1st, 2022, and whereas the province will continue to honor any current contracts until they expire, and whereas the contract for solid waste does not expire for the LSD in Kingsclear until January 2024, and whereas the rural community of Hanwell currently has a contract for solid waste collection with Brewster Marine BMI for a period of February 1, 2022 to January 1, 2023, with an option to extend the term of the contract for 1 year, to extend the term of the contract for 1 year, additional year, under the same terms and conditions, except that the, I don't think this makes sense, does it?
No, for one additional year.
All right, so that's what I was
You're
getting.
reading one to extend.
Oh, I'm reading the wrong one even, so that's not even the
No,
one.
you're reading the right one.
No, he's reading the right one, to go to
You're reading the
10.
right one. It's just written incorrectly.
Yeah, we just, sorry, so I'm going to clean that up and say it again, so we can clean that part up. Whereas the rural community of Hanwell currently has a contract for solid waste collection with Brewster Marine BMI for a period of February 1 to January 22 to January 31st to January 23, with an option to extend the term of the contract for 1 additional year under the same terms and conditions, except that an allowance be made for negotiated rising fuels, number of households, I move that we authorize and direct the clerk to move the solid waste collection contract for a period of February 1 to December 23, 2023, 11 months out to tender.
Okay, any discussion?
I'll second it.
Sorry, yeah,
Just to
second it.
clarify, it's
Right.
February 1st to December 31st in 2023. Yeah.
Correct, 11 months.
11 months.
Out to tender.
Okay, so we have a seconder. Now, do we have any discussion, questions? Everybody's clear on the motion? Is everybody ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of putting the contract out to tender for February 1st, from February 1st, oh my, I got screwed up now. February 1st to December 31st, 2023, 11 months out to tender.
Aye.
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 Okay, anybody contrary minded?
Alright.
All right, we have 4 ayes and 1 nay, motion carried. The next one is the snow removal contract. We again have 2 motions, one to extend and one for tender. So do you want to put the rules aside for a bit and discuss this first, or just go right to the motions?
I'd say we move the rules aside just so we have some context and then we go back in if that's okay.
Fair enough. Motion to,
Yeah, motion to
Suspend the rules.
suspend the rules.
Okay.
okay. Any questions, concerns? All right, all those in favor of suspending the rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? All right, motion carried, thank you. So we're going to suspend the rules for the time being.
So the 2 points that we have before us are we're going to renew or are we going to go out to tender. I think we've had a lot of feedback, as told by the clerk, by many different departments, that the current providers are providing a great job. Where we're trying to line up our contracts for the next year, this one I don't mind renewing and authorizing the clerk to negotiate to remove the renewal of the contract for the extended period of time.
Any other comments?
I just have I guess I need to understand, in some of the previous contracts that we've talked about, some of the bigger contracts, there was right in the contract, the ability to extend that contract. Is that in this contract? Okay.
So we don't, so when we did the last contract, we didn't put in there
No,
that we had,
he put in a bid, like, he put in the renewal
right,
each time or whatever. So I can put it out for, I believe he was actually the only company that had bid the first year. Last year, we did it again, and then this year we can. It's, the contract that we used is one that the local government always uses. And it was more or less, you know, if you're, for something so small, if you were pleased with the work kind of thing, that it could just be.
It's like a pre-existing professional relationship with the contractor, basically, right?
Just one second, actually, extension of the contract. With mutual agreement between the parties, the contract may be extended for 2 optional 1-year contracts. So
Okay.
So it is in the contract.
Yeah, that's good to know.
that was at 2020, that was
So we
expiring
could-
2020. So then it would be 2021, this would be 2022, so it really should, if that is, it should go out.
so that was for like November 2020,
This was November 1st, 2019.
oh, till April.
So we already
April
extended it 2 years.
2020.
So we've already done it twice.
So it really should go out
It should
anyway.
go out to tender,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so that's,
And what was the contract? How much was it? I know you said it was, like, when they said it was really low, we didn't necessarily need to. but-
Last year it was 18,000 and for the fire hall 12.
So 30,000. So we wouldn't need to go to tender, but maybe there's more companies that.
Well, I think where we're trying to amalgamate Kings Clear and Hanwell, I'd argue this one's an easy one where everybody was pleased with the service. I'd be okay with it.
we may be questioned on to why we didn't put it out for tender, because we did extend the 2 years that the contract calls for.
Oh, right,
But
there's those
where it's
ones.
municipal reform and we're trying to align our contracts, that's probably a pretty good reason to give it an additional extension.
Yeah, you know what, I'm for it still, even knowing those guidelines.
Because, I mean, let's face it, municipal reform has changed a lot of things, so it's made, until we get everything lined up, it just makes it more difficult to do for, you know.
We
So
have
we
enough
feel
to
good
do.
that legally we're okay?
I am, like I said, we didn't have anybody.
Right, with all the stuff we have on our books, trying to merge here, there's enough on our books as far as I'm concerned, this one I'm willing to.
Yeah. We may be challenged, that's a possibility, because we're not getting an additional quote, we're just extending it outside the contract, we're extending it a year. So somebody that's doing snow removal say, hey, you know, how come you guys didn't put that out to tender? Well, we're gonna be kinda,
Yeah,
And I certainly can, I can still,
All right,
I put
maybe we do.
is it for 11 months, that would line us up with Kingsclear?
well, it's 6 months.
It's just.
Yeah, sorry,
Right, yeah.
it's a 6 month,
It's until April.
the winter season,
It's
yeah.
just the winter
Yeah.
season, so
So,
I can certainly bring it out to 3 people.
I think we either should get quotes or put it out to tender, but we don't want to do the tender process, this is a lot less than 130 grand, but I think we can get additional quotes and see.
Let's do the
We
quote.
should get a quotes at least. Yeah.
Just best
and we
practices,
don't
right?
need to,
Yeah, you're right, well done, good job, guys.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a motion. We're gonna change it slightly from the way it was pre-worded. So whereas municipal reform will become effective January 1st, 2023, and whereas the province will continue to honor any current contracts until they expire, and whereas the contracts for snow removal with fire halls for Kingsclear and Island View do not expire until April 2023, and whereas the rural community of Hanwell currently has an expired contract for snow removal services with TMC snow blowing services for Hanwell Fire Hall and the Hanwell Place parking lot for the period of November 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2022. I move that we authorize the director clerk to put the snow removal contract, to get 3 bids, for the snow removal contract for the Hanwell Fire Hall and for Hanwell Place parking lot for the period of November 1st, 2022 to April 30th, 2023.
I'll second it.
So, any questions, discussion?
It's not going to
Everybody
tender.
understands the motion?
It's
I
not
understand.
going to tender, it's just going to be.
Looking
Yeah,
for
for quotes. So it's going to work for quotes.
Quotes would have been a better use
Yeah,
of bids, sorry.
Yeah, you said quote.
You
You said quotes.
Did I say
You
quotes?
said
You
quotes.
said bids,
You said
but
bids,
we
but you
understood
meant
it as
quotes.
quotes.
Okay, I meant quotes. but,
Okay,
you know.
no more discussion? Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. All right, so that looks after that business of motions and everything's done up
May I get a
tidy
drink of water
there.
before we jump in?
Pardon?
May I get a drink of water?
Sure,
before we jump
yeah, want to break for 5 minutes before we go into closed session
Please.
again? Let's do
Yeah,
that.
we can do that in 5 minutes.
in? Move for break for 5 minutes?
Well, what you say, we'll break for 5
Great,
minutes? That's it.
the chair can do that, it doesn't need a motion.
Oh, okay.
I can do that.
There you go.